They handed me a plastic trophy that read "World's #1 Disappointment" on my birthday. A week later, I disappeared. Left them crying in bathrobes in front of my old job. I turned 45 last Tuesday. 45. 2 decades of 60-hour weeks at a factory that's been threatening layoffs for months, 2 kids nearing adulthood, and a wife I thought I was growing old with. Thought you'd expect some kind of celebration. Not a parade or a 5-course meal, but maybe a little warmth. Something real. Instead, I got a cheap plastic trophy and a laugh track from my own family. My wife, Ruth, had texted me earlier that day while I was still at work, "Be home by 6. Special dinner for your birthday, Rehart." That message stuck in my head the whole shift. I actually left work a few minutes early for the first time in months. I scrubbed the factory grime off me in the shower, threw on the one decent button-up I owned, dark blue, the same one Ruth got me for Christmas a few years back. I even combed my hair. The dining room looked different. The good dishes were out. Candles lit. Homemade cake on the table, or so I thought. For the first time in what felt like years, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I still mattered. Ruth smiled like a hostess. My daughter, Emily, who's 19 and barely grunts when I walk in most days, had her phone up, recording. My son, Oscar, 14, smirked like he was holding in a secret. They sang happy birthday, off-key and giggling, and handed me a wrapped box. Not big, just enough to fit a mug or something. It had actual ribbon, not the usual half-assed tissue paper. "Go on, Dad," Emily said, camera still rolling. "Open it." I did. Inside was a gold-colored plastic trophy with the engraving, "World's #1 Disappointment." They burst into laughter like they'd just pulled off the greatest prank in family history. Ruth clutched her stomach. "We saw it at that novelty shop and just knew it was perfect for you." Oscar high-fived Emily, who zoomed in on my face and said, "Speech. Give us an acceptance speech." And I did. I gave them what they wanted. Held that little trophy in the air, fake grinned so hard my face shook, and said, "Well, I'd like to thank the Academy and my family for reminding me that 22 years of sacrifice was worth a $3 punchline." They laughed harder. I sat through the rest of dinner like a man watching his own funeral. The cake was store-bought. Chocolate. There were only 4 candles. Ruth made some joke about not wanting to burn the house down with all 45. I blew them out. Wished for silence. Afterward, they all piled into the living room to watch some reality show. I cleared the table alone, washed the dishes, boxed the leftovers. The trophy sat next to my plate the entire time, catching the flicker of candlelight like it was proud of itself. At around midnight, I got a notification. Emily had posted the video. Caption: "Dad's big moment trophy, #birthday fail, #disappointment trophy, #LOL." It had 8,000 likes in a few hours. Strangers were commenting laughing emojis. One said, "Damn, his face, pure defeat face with tears of joy." I went to the garage. My Silverado, the one Ruth's been nagging me to sell for years, was waiting. I sat in it with the lights off and stared at my old tool pegboard. Everything in order. The last corner of the house that still felt like mine. That's when I made the list. Assets in my name only. Accounts Ruth didn't know about. Tools I'd paid for. Documents. Backup plans. Places I could go. What I legally owed them versus what I'd given freely. They called me a disappointment. Fine. But they forgot what happens when a man who's already invisible decides to vanish for real. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a minute. I stayed in the Silverado watching my breath fog up the windshield in the garage. I sat there thinking about everything I'd given up, everything I'd endured, and everything I'd been turned into in this house. Husband. Father. Provider. Punchline. By 3:47 a.m. I had a plan. Not just an angry fantasy or a dramatic walkout, no. This was methodical. Cold. Surgical. First, I logged into every financial account we had. The joint checking and savings were pitiful. Ruth had spent more on seasonal throw pillows in the last 6 months than we had left in emergency funds. But my separate account, the one I started 10 years ago and never mentioned, that one was healthy. Just shy of $48,000. Not retirement money, but enough to start over. To breathe. Second, I gathered documents. Birth certificate, social security card, passport. Made copies. Stored the originals in my toolbox under the false bottom, the one Ruth never figured out because she never once stepped foot in my garage unless she wanted something moved or fixed. Third, I rented a storage unit 35 minutes away. Paid in cash for 6 months up front. I drove over on my lunch break the next day, signed the papers, and started slowly moving things from the house into it. My tools. My books. Old photo albums, the ones Ruth said were clutter. Spare clothes. anything I cared about. All done quietly, methodically, one bag at a time. Then I called in a favor. There's this guy, Walter, used to work the line with me before he got laid off and started doing odd jobs. Good guy, keeps to himself, owes me a few. I asked if he could pick me up at 5:30 a.m. next Tuesday and drive me to the Greyhound station in the next city over. Paid him in cash, gave him a burner number just in case. He didn't ask questions. That's why I asked him. Next, I wrote 3 letters. One for Ruth, one for Emily, one for Oscar. Ruth said, "You laughed at me long enough. I figured I'd give you something worth laughing about for real. P.S. The house isn't in your name." Emily said, "You're smarter than you act. One day you'll replay that video and feel it in your gut. I hope by then, you know how much it actually cost you." Oscar's was shorter. "One day when you're a man, I hope you treat yours better than you treated me." I sealed them, dated them, placed them in the drawer of my nightstand. The one no one ever touches because it's just Dad's junk. By Friday, the house felt quieter. Maybe I was just tuning them out. Ruth was already moving on from the trophy, planning some girls' weekend with her sister. Emily had posted a new TikTok about how hard college life is when your dad's a weirdo. Oscar kept slamming his bedroom door after school, yelling into his headset at strangers online. None of them asked how my day was. No one mentioned my birthday again. Saturday came. I cooked breakfast. No one thanked me, just ate and left their dishes. Sunday, I mowed the lawn, cleaned the gutters, and changed the oil in Ruth's car. No one noticed. Monday, I moved the last of my things to the unit and made sure the house was spotless. I cleaned the bathroom, vacuumed, even left a lasagna in the fridge. Emily liked lasagna. It would probably be cold comfort after reading her letter. I went to bed early that night. Ruth didn't come in until 1 a.m., smelling like wine and someone else's cologne. I didn't say anything. I didn't feel anything. Tuesday morning, 4:45 a.m. I got up, dressed quietly, shaved, packed the last bag, just a duffel. No trophies, no souvenirs. Left my wedding ring on the kitchen counter. Placed the 3 letters beside it. Walter pulled into the driveway exactly at 5:30. Headlights off. I didn't look back. The bus left at 7:15 a.m., headed 3 states away to a town I hadn't seen in 20 years. A town with 1 diner, 1 hardware store, and 1 quiet cabin on the edge of a lake. One I'd inherited from my uncle and never told anyone about. By 10:30 a.m., I was gone. By 11:15, Ruth was standing in the lobby of my old job wearing nothing but a bathrobe and tears, screaming, "He left us with nothing!" Except I hadn't. I just finally left them with exactly what they gave me. Silence. The thing about disappearing is, you don't realize how loud your absence will be until you're gone. I was sitting on the porch of that old lakeside cabin, coffee in one hand, the stillness of real peace humming in my ears, when the first voicemail came in. The burner phone buzzed once, then fell silent. By noon, I had 6 missed calls from Ruth, 3 from Emily, 1 from Oscar, then Ruth again. This time she left a message. I let it play out over speaker, staring at the ripples on the lake while her voice, shrill and cracking, echoed through the trees. "What the hell is this? Where are you? What do you mean you left? This isn't funny, Richard. You made your point, okay? Come home." That was the first message. By 4 p.m., I had 27 missed calls and 4 voicemails. The tone shifted quickly from rage to panic. From "how dare you" to "please just tell me where you are." From "you selfish bastard" to "what am I supposed to do now?" By sunset, the last voicemail that came in was just Ruth crying. I turned the phone off. The next few days were quiet, almost suspiciously so. I got a prepaid debit card, ordered some tools online, and started fixing the place up. The plumbing was garbage. The roof leaked a little near the chimney, but it was mine. Every night I cooked a simple meal, ate in silence, read a book, slept in a real bed that didn't sag on one side from years of unbalanced compromise. I didn't hear a human voice until day 5, when the gas station clerk asked if I wanted a receipt. But back home, the story was unraveling fast. Ruth showed up at my job that Tuesday in her bathrobe, crying. She hadn't bothered to check her texts until it was too late. The factory manager had already seen the letter I mailed. Simple envelope. Inside, resignation notice, keys to the locker, and a post-it that said, "Don't call me." Word spread like wildfire. "Did you hear about Rich? Man just up and vanished." His wife posted on Facebook something about abandonment. Abandonment. Now that was Rich. Emily posted a grief selfie the day after, her red eyes filtered and captioned, "Some wounds you don't see. Some people you never really know. Hashtag healing, hashtag dad left." I laughed. First real laugh in weeks. Maybe months. Oscar didn't post anything, not publicly. But through a back channel I'd set up, an old buddy who still worked at the high school, I heard he'd stopped showing up to class. Too embarrassed, apparently. Meanwhile, Ruth tried to spin it. She told everyone I was unstable, that I'd cracked under pressure, that the birthday joke wasn't a big deal and I'd overreacted. But people talk, especially small-town people. And then someone, I don't know who, maybe a coworker, maybe just karma, leaked the trophy video. Yes, that video. The one where my daughter filmed me reading "World's #1 Disappointment" with that broken smile. The one with the hashtags. The one with 80,000 views in less than 48 hours once Reddit got a hold of it. Comments poured in. "Jesus. That's just cruel." His face when he reads it, my heart broke. She really filmed it like it was a joke. Monsters. He deserves a medal for walking away. Ruth deleted the post. Deleted her whole account, actually. Emily went radio silent. Oscar, from what I heard, smashed his gaming console against the wall. I didn't feel good about it, not exactly. But I felt justified. A week after I left, a certified letter arrived at my P.O. box in town. From Ruth. Typed. Formal. Cold. * Richard. If you think you can just abandon your responsibilities like this, think again. You are still legally bound to this family whether you like it or not. I am speaking to a lawyer. Expect to hear from them soon. Ruth *. I chuckled, folded the letter, and slid it into a folder marked petty threats. Then I opened another envelope, this one from my own attorney, a man named Clarence who owed me a favor after I helped his brother get on at the factory years ago. Clarence had drafted everything I needed. The quitclaim deed I'd filed on the house, sole owner, me. The updated will. The change of beneficiary forms for the life insurance policy. And a note in his own handwriting. "She's got no case. You were never on any lease or financial contract in her name. Let her huff and puff. She's got no house to blow down." I slept better that night than I had in 10 years. Meanwhile, the messages kept coming, trickling now, more sporadic. Less angry. More desperate. From Ruth. "Just tell me what you want. We can fix this." From Emily. "I didn't mean it. It was just a joke. Please. Can we talk?" From Oscar. "Why'd you leave?" I didn't reply. Because it finally hit me, they weren't crying over me. They were crying over the fallout. The exposure. The absence of the man who'd been their foundation, the one they cracked and mocked and kicked until he finally let it collapse. They weren't sorry. They were just shocked. That I'd actually done it. That I really left. That I really meant it. There's a strange peace that settles over you when no one knows where you are. No one asking what's for dinner. No one leaving damp towels on the floor. No one reminding you, passively or directly, that you aren't enough. For the first time in decades, I didn't exist to anyone. And I'd never felt more alive. The cabin was quiet. No Wi-Fi. Spotty cell reception at best. At night, I'd build a fire, sit with a beer, and listen to the wind roll over the lake like it was trying to tell me something important. I used to think silence meant loneliness. Now I knew better. Silence was a reset button. It took Ruth exactly 11 days to send the police for a welfare check. I saw the squad car coming a mile off, literally, since the road winds around the hill and kicks up dust like a parade. 2 officers stepped out, middle-aged, small-town types. I greeted them on the porch with a mug of black coffee and a calm expression. "Sir," one said, glancing at his clipboard, "we got a call from a woman claiming you were missing." I nodded. Not missing. Just done. They asked if I was okay. If I needed help. I showed them my ID, told them I was here by choice, and handed over the documentation for the property. One of the officers chuckled when he saw the name Ruth on the emergency contact section of my expired driver's license. "Got it," he said. "You want to stay off the grid, that's your business. Just let us know if you change your mind." I thanked them and they drove away. It was that easy. The days bled into each other after that. I chopped wood, refinished the floors, spent hours fishing even though I barely caught a thing. I lost 10 pounds without trying. My back stopped hurting. My eyes stopped twitching. And then, about 3 weeks after I left, the messages changed again. Ruth's tone shifted from threats to bargaining. I'm sorry. I really am. I didn't know you were feeling this way. We were joking. You know how the kids are. Emily sent a voice note. She sounded hollow, almost small. Dad, please come home. I deleted the video. I didn't mean it. I miss you. Oscar didn't message. But one night, a letter arrived. Actual paper. Folded into thirds and shoved into a plain envelope. No return address. No stamps. Just dropped in my P.O. box, probably by hand. His handwriting was still crooked like when he was 7. I don't know why you left, but I think it's because of the trophy. I told Mom it was dumb. I wanted to get you a real gift. I just didn't know what to say. I didn't mean for it to be like that. I miss you. That one made me pause. I didn't cry, but I sat down on the floor of the cabin and just held the letter. My son, 14 years old, the one who barely made eye contact, now writing things he couldn't say out loud. It hit me, they didn't just mock me out of cruelty. They did it because they'd never seen me as a person. Only a fixture. A dad-shaped vending machine that dispensed rent payments and car rides. They'd spent years walking around the ghost of a man too tired to haunt them properly. So they filled in the blanks themselves. Meanwhile, back home, Ruth was unraveling. A friend from the factory, Miguel, solid guy, never liked her. Sent me screenshots from her Facebook posts before she shut the account down completely. At first, she played the victim. When someone you love just walks away, it breaks something in you. Then came the attention grabs. People change. Sometimes the man you married becomes a stranger. Then the pity fishing. It's hard being a single mom when you didn't sign up for it. And finally, silence. She tried to file a missing persons report again. The police declined. She tried to freeze our joint bank account. There wasn't anything in it to freeze. She went to a lawyer. Clarence called me and laughed about it over the phone. She walked in thinking she had leverage, he said. Didn't take long for her to realize the only name on the mortgage was yours. And the life insurance policy. Still you, all the way down. The house was mine. The money was mine. The silence, that was mine too. But even in the peace, I started to feel something stir inside. Not regret, not guilt, something else, something unfinished. Because the truth was, as much as they broke me with that trophy, I'd allowed them to. I'd let my love become servitude. Let my patience become invisibility. Let my sacrifices become expectations. And now that I'd vanished, they didn't know what to do without me. It wasn't enough to just leave. No, they needed to understand why. They needed to know what it felt like to watch someone smile while telling you that you were a disappointment. To carry a family on your back and be handed a joke instead of thanks. So I made one more plan. Just one more surprise. I always said if I ever left that family, it'd be without a word. But the truth is, silence can only carry so much weight. If you want someone to really feel it, to look their choices in the eye, sometimes you need to speak. Just once. Clear and final. So I wrote a letter. Not some vague apology or burned bridge manifesto. I wrote something real, measured, precise, like a scalpel, not a hammer. Because the goal wasn't revenge. Not really. It was clarity. I printed 5 copies. Each one folded neatly, placed in a plain envelope with a gold sticker sealing it. Because if they could turn my pain into a party favor, I could return the favor in style. Then I made one final visit home. Not inside the house. No, I had no intention of stepping foot back in the place that had become a stage for their mockery. But I did have a key, and I knew their routines better than they knew mine. Ruth worked until 5:30. Emily had class Tuesdays and Thursdays. Oscar usually didn't roll out of bed before noon on weekends. So that Saturday, I pulled up at 6:15 a.m., parked a block away, and walked up the driveway like a ghost with purpose. In one hand, I carried a large cardboard box with a smiley face sticker on the side. Amazon style, but not from Amazon. I'd made it look like a delivery right down to the fake shipping label. I set it on the porch. Inside the box were 3 things: The original trophy now cracked down the side. A framed print of the Instagram post, caption and all. My letter. I slid the other envelopes into the mailbox. One for each of them. Emily, Oscar, Ruth, and the fourth? For Ruth's sister, who I knew would be involved. The second Ruth started crying on cue. The fifth copy? I kept for myself. Here's what it said. To the people I gave everything to. This isn't about a trophy. It never was. This is about years of silence being mistaken for indifference. About how I was only visible when something needed fixing. About how I was never seen as a man, just as a resource. I worked while sick. I stayed when I was tired. I said yes when I should have said no. I missed birthdays, fishing trips, and sleep so you could have shoes that lit up and braces that straightened teeth you only used to scoff at me. I loved you all. I still do, in a way. But love without respect is a prison, and I finally picked the lock. Emily, I hope you become someone who sees people, not just content. That video, that laugh, it'll echo longer than you think. One day, when someone you love turns to dust under your camera lens, I hope you remember this moment. Oscar, I see more of me in you than I care to admit. Your silence was loud. If you learn anything from this, let it be this: manhood isn't about being tough. It's about knowing when to walk away from a table where you're only ever the punchline. And Ruth, we built something. But somewhere along the way, you stopped checking if the foundation was cracking. You thought because I kept standing there, it meant I was fine holding all of it. I wasn't. You didn't lose me over a plastic trophy. You lost me because when I read it, I realized you'd meant it for years. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just free. I won't be back. Don't come looking. I gave you everything I had. The rest is mine now. Richard. I walked away without looking back. Tossed the gloves I'd worn into a dumpster behind the gas station. Grabbed a coffee. Drove back to the cabin with the radio off and the windows cracked just enough to feel the chill of morning freedom. They say you can't choose your family. Maybe that's true. But you can choose how much of yourself you give to them. And when they show you that they only see you as a disappointment, you can choose to let them find out what life is like without the man they never bothered to understand. They didn't know it, but they'd been living with a ghost for years. A man who quietly swallowed every slight, every dismissal, every overlooked dinner and cold shoulder until all that remained was a shell that wore work boots and paid bills. And then one day, the ghost left. I didn't just vanish from their lives. I rewrote mine. 3 months have passed. In that time, I fixed up the entire cabin. New roof. Painted the porch. Installed a proper wood-burning stove. The kind Ruth used to complain was too rustic. I sit beside it most nights now, warm and full and invisible to no one but the trees and the stars. I started journaling. Nothing fancy. Just thoughts. Observations. Lessons I had to learn too late. I've even made a few friends in town. Not close ones, not yet, but enough that someone waves when I walk into the diner. The waitress knows my coffee order. There's a retired guy named Glenn who plays checkers with me on Sundays. Doesn't ask questions. Just likes the company. Nobody here knows me as Richard the Disappointment. I'm just Rich. Meanwhile, back home, the fallout has settled like ash over a house that used to be whole. Ruth tried to sell the house but couldn't. She was never on the deed. Clarence made sure of that. When the bank called to confirm the ownership, they reached me. I told them politely that the property was not for sale. I did, however, authorize Ruth and the kids to stay for now. I gave them 60 days. Rent-free. Enough time to figure out where they actually stood and who they were without the man they once laughed out of his own kitchen. After that, the locks change. Emily eventually posted something new. A black screen with white text, like people do when they're trying to apologize without actually facing anyone. Sometimes we hurt people we love without realizing it. Sometimes a joke isn't funny. I wish I could go back. I'm sorry, Dad. It had fewer likes than her usual selfies. Fewer laughing emojis. But it had one comment that stood out. Maybe he didn't leave you. Maybe he finally chose himself. Oscar hasn't written again. But I got a notification that someone tried to log into the email I'd used for the trophy rental website. The password attempt was @14. I didn't reset the password, but I did leave it unlocked for 10 minutes just in case. Sometimes I wonder if they ever look at the mantle. If the trophy's still there. Still crooked from where I cracked it. Still catching light when the sun hits at just the right angle. Maybe they keep it as a reminder. Or maybe it's in a landfill buried under other trash they didn't know how to deal with. Either way, I don't need it anymore. I have something better now, mornings where no one calls me a failure, nights where I fall asleep without dread in my chest, and a future not built on obligation. The world didn't end when I walked away. It started. And maybe someday Oscar will stand in front of someone who calls him less than he is and remember his father didn't stay silent. That you don't have to earn your worth in exhaustion and gray hair and being the butt of your daughter's jokes. Maybe Emily will have a kid of her own, and when they look up at her with wide eyes and ask, "Do I make you proud?" she'll think of me. And maybe Ruth someday will sit in that empty kitchen, her reflection dim in the microwave door, and whisper he really meant it. Because I did. And I still do. They gave me a trophy that said world's #1 disappointment. So I gave them the absence of a man who once would have done anything for them. Yeah? I only do things for people who see me.